what's the end goal? Is it still to take down the centralized exchanges?
100%. The world will take down centralized exchanges. Hyperliquid has reinvigorated this decentralized platforms can win thesis, but the job's not done. Like there's a lot of work, right, that needs to happen. We need to get to a world where people can interact with crypto in a non-custodial fashion as easily as they can do it in a custodial fashion. The world is going to be permissionless. There's no question of that. It's just a matter of time.
This episode is brought to you by Zcash. You'll hear more about them later in today's episode. Nothing said on Empire is a recommendation to buy or sell any investments or products. This podcast is for informational purposes only, and the views expressed by anyone on the show are solely their opinions, not financial advice or necessarily the views of Blockworks. Our hosts, guests, and the Blockworks team may hold positions in the companies, funds, or projects discussed. All right, everyone, welcome back to Empire. Kain, man the myth, what's going on?
Hey, what's happening? Everything's going on. Chaos.
Is it your birthday?
It was my birthday yesterday, actually.
Oh.
It's the day before Halloween. So my birthday for you today. So you can say happy.
Nice. I can celebrate it here.
You can celebrate my birthday over there in the US.
Why do you put your birthday on your Twitter? You know, that's like a big OPSEC thing.
Dude, my passport got like leaked in
you're way past Twitter birthday.
Like I might as well just have my banner be my passport, an image of my passport at this point. So yeah, that ship sailed, unfortunately.
What do you do for OPSEC? Do you use ledgers, or are you just like in a, I don't know, enterprise institutional Coinbase account, or what are you doing these days?
I have everywhere. Like make it as hard as possible.
I imagine.
Yeah, make it as hard as possible, put stuff in as many places as possible, to the point where like, you know, I don't even know some of the stuff. Like I literally had a meeting, like once a week, my family office gets together, and on like a Wednesday afternoon. And
is this Bodhi?
So Bodhi's my prop fund. It's complicated. So Bodhi, Jordan, the co-founder of Synthetics, and I started in 2019, which was like, I think the first investment we made was in the graph, which was a pretty good one. And I remember in 2020 or something when the token launched, I was like, I think this thing's worth like $20 million. Like what's going on here? We were locked for years and years. But yeah, so we started that prop fund in 2019. In 2021, Jordan resigned from Synthetics and like went full time running the fund. So he has there's two books. There's Liquid and Venture book, and he has about 10 staff that he runs between Lisbon and Dubai. So we do a lot of venture stuff, a lot of liquid stuff. It's good fun. But this is just like my personal like family office,
tax planning and estate planning.
Dude, it's the most boring stuff, right? Anyway, so I was like, I feel like I can't find any crypto. Like, what is going on? Like, have we used all our liquid crypto? Like, what? Like, I'm
a great feeling to have. Yeah,
literally, I'm like out of ETH. I'm like down to like not much Bitcoin, and you know, we've been cycling stuff into different things and different deals and various places, and the guy who runs my family office was like, no, we've got plenty, you just don't know where it is. And I was like, okay, that's good.
Yeah, that's you think that's good until you wake up like you're Shohei Ohtani and your translator walked off with 30 million. You know?
Literally. Okay, so you think it's good, except I have a very, very large SNX long open that I started building up. So I went to my family office and I'm like, I don't have enough SNX. Like, I'm super bullish. We're going to run this back. Like, I want to buy more SNX. And they were like, absolutely not. Like, we refuse to allow you to do that. And I was like, no, like what? You have to let me buy SNX if I want to buy it. And they're like, I'm sorry. Like, you have enough SNX, you're fine. And so I was like, all right, fuck you. I'm going to trade it on perps. And so I built up over the course of like, I don't know, maybe a month or 2 months or something like that, a big SNX long. And it's on Infinex perps on Hyperliquid. And we have a dashboard which shows like the live tracking of all the positions. And it's like not even close to liquidation, but you know, after 10-10, I'm like, an hour could wipe out the world, right? So I'm a bit like on edge, walking around. Anyway, into the office, I walk past this big dashboard which has like all the metrics, whatever, and I noticed that the open interest on our positions has gone down by like a couple mil, and I was like, did I just get liquidated? And even worse, right? So I pull out my phone and I look at the price action, and I forgot that I changed it to the daily chart. I usually sit on like the hourly chart, right?
Yeah.
So it's on the daily chart. So the first thing I pull up is the wick down to like 40 cents on Hyperliquid, and I was like, oh. Anyway, it was just like a data. It was like a data thing, and like then the API
So you're
fixed it.
fine. So you didn't get licked.
I was fine, but I was like, all right, I got to put more margin in this thing. I'm living on the edge here.
What do you think about like investing versus building companies now that you've done it with Bodhi and Synthetics and Infinex? Like I think a lot of founders, especially people who have been in the industry, I mean, you've been in it building in for like a decade. I've been building for 8 years. I think a lot of people have been building for like, let's call it 5+ years. Something goes through their head where they're like, oh, maybe I want to get into the investing side of things. They start dabbling with angel investing, usually in like year 3 or 4 or 5 of the industry. Maybe they want to go launch a fund. You did it with Bodhi, like Leshner did it with Robot Ventures. Like, what are your thoughts on just, I don't know, that dynamic?
Yeah, I have this debate in some of my like Telegram chats all the time, right? Like, I still think that if you have access, right? So if you are a top founder in a cycle, right? Let's say you're like, you don't have to be a main character, right? But if you're a top founder, maybe like top 10, 20 founders, the deal flow that you get is so positive EV in that cycle that like it makes no sense not to just ape everything, right? So that's like the first cycle, right?
You think it's still positive EV, or you're saying that
positive EV? I think it's massively positive EV.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You know, like someone turns up and says, "Hey, do you want like access to Mega ETH and Monad and Plasma and
yeah, I agree.
and like whatever because there's a really good filter, right? Where you're like not well known enough that you're getting like all of the deal flow. You're just getting people that are like switched on enough, as in founders that are switched on enough to know, you know what, I'm going to go to Guy. I'm going to see if I can get Guy on my cap table, right?
Well, and his venture firms come to you being like, hey, this founder is really good. And it's like, you know.
Yeah, because they want like that name recognition of another founder recognizing a founder. And, you know, and I think, you know, especially in the early days, like I spent a lot of time with my portfolio companies, like helping founders, et cetera. And, you know, that is also really positive EV, right? Because you get like, you know, a lot of very interesting kind of feedback from people that are like in the trenches as well with you, right? Which is super valuable. So, you know, like I talk to Namek all the time, right? And you know, I talk to Keone, you know, every once in a while, probably every 6 months or something. But if I need to talk to them, because I've been there when maybe they had a question about something, and I'm like, hey, why are you guys doing this? Or like, what's going on with this thing? It's really nice to have that access where someone will DM you back and give you that kind of feedback on something. So, you know, I think there's not just like the financial side of it. There's also the connectivity to other founders side as well, which is quite beneficial. On the second cycle though, especially towards the end of the first cycle, like into the second cycle, it flips from positive EV to you can't just YOLO every deal that comes in front of you, because people, they've seen you're an angel, they see you're a soft target, maybe, right? And like, I think you could say this probably for like both me and Stanny. Like Stanny has done every single deal like in the history of mankind 2021, right? He's like on every single one. And, you know, might not be big checks, right? 10K, 20K, something like that. But they add up. You do 125K checks, like it starts to, you know, not be amazing. And so I think that there is a window of opportunity as a founder where like you've just gotten to the point where you're kind of a little bit famous, but only people who know. Once you get too well known as a person who's a soft target, people just come out of the woodwork, like, you know, hammering you.
So what do you do now? You just throw it to Bodhi Ventures and Jordan.
Yeah. Someone pings me and says, "Hey, I got a great deal," or whatever. Like I probably get, I don't know, 5 cold DMs a day on Twitter. With deal flow, because people know that I write checks. So
yeah, they see you on the VC list or something.
It's just it's easy, right? Like especially after Polymarket, after that Polymarket, someone
What
tweeted
happened on?
out like the Polymarket seed investors. It was like me, Meltem, Leshner, Stanny, and I think like a bunch of people saw that who may not know who, like I am, or
Like, hey, this guy just made a bag. Like, let's
they're
set
like,
him up.
oh yeah, this guy has got some cash. Let's go and
Yeah.
try and get some.
Are you gonna sell your poly? Are you gonna do the tender in the poly market tender?
Yeah, it's funny, right? Like, so, we did the seed round. We have been pretty significantly diluted over the course of like the subsequent rounds, like probably like by 80% or something, I would say. I mean, it's still a multi-100x bagger, right? It's a crazy, and especially back then, like that first round was like 10 mil. So
That's crazy.
it's not like someone could put $1 million in or something like that, right? Like, checks were like 10, 15, 20, 50K. Maybe one confirmation put in like a couple of hundred or something like that. But it wasn't like people were slinging, $2-3 million checks around. So my view at the moment, I've been death riding Shane's cracked career for the last like whatever it is 6 years. Like, I'm not ready to get off this ride. I want to see it out. And I think the interesting thing about Polymarket is there is a chance that they do something wild like tokenized equity, or like an equity token, or an IPO with a
that's the thing. It's like I think all eyes are on them because they've got a $15 billion valuation now, or
Yeah.
supposedly on the equity side, but they're also going to do a token. So it's it's kind of like what they do ends up setting the tone for like what Ripple does with Ripple Labs, and or maybe that's a bad example, but Uniswap and Uniswap Labs, and
for sure. Like Uniswap is another very interesting one, right? That like, I've got a bag of uni that I've been kind of, holding for dear life, right? And I think there is definitely momentum for governance change. I've tweeted about this a few times. Like the governance nonsense that went on from like the end of DeFi summer to probably 2023, which was just a like, kind of survival mechanism in many cases, right? Trying to create as much cover fire as possible for people who are building this stuff when the Democrats are trying to kill everyone. Like you don't really, when you look back on it, right? Like there's not many bright spots in that whole exercise. Right. And, the problem is optimizing for the wrong things. It wasn't, at first governance was like decentralization, trust minimization, credible neutrality, like all of the good stuff. And then it became like just a shield to protect from, regulatory overreach, right? Once it becomes a shield, it's not going to be optimized in the right way. And I think there were a lot of kind of perverse incentives at play and things that got fucked up there.
Yeah. What do you what are you do you trade on Polymarket?
Yeah, so I do a little bit. I think like around the election, I had a couple of little plays that I made, not too big, but we started building an integration, as in Infinex started building an integration to Polymarket. I think that there is, in the nicest possible way, a lot of UX innovation that could go into prediction market.
Right, can you play with markets on Infinex?
Not yet.
Oh, yeah.
We've got like a very, very early alpha. But as soon as we started building the alpha, we reverse engineered all the APIs. And then I started talking to someone at Polymarket, and they're like, actually, we've got a better plan, like come and do this thing. So we rebuild everything. It'll probably come out after TG is my hot take.
Yeah. That makes your TG or their TG.
Our TG. Yeah. Their TG, who knows, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I find especially something about this market, because this market is so dead for tokens. I find prediction markets to be a much more interesting markets right now, and I actually think the UI is crappy but also very addicting. Whereas it's like it's just you can so easily just start. You can just you can click like, I don't know. I find it very addicting.
I mean, so I didn't bet on this. I wish that I had. I was a bit lazy. And this is one of the things that I kind of strongly believe, right? Is making it very easy to just kind of have an opinion and express it is one of the most important things. And at the moment, like it's still a bit cooked, all right? Like you got to have funds sitting there, or you got a bridge or whatever. But the thing that one of my groups was talking about for the last like week has been the Mega ETH, final allocation. Like how much will it go to? And by like day 2, I was 100% convinced that it was going to go over 1.2. I wasn't sure if it was going to go to 1.4. In the end, it missed 1.4 by like $10 million. And so that bet was, there wasn't a ton of volume. I think it was like maybe $500,000 or something like that. But yeah, it was definitely, those are the types of things that like, it just, we're already watching all of this stuff, right? Like this is like the thing that we're watching. And then it's like watching sport, and you can now bet on the team.
I actually think the market that they need to lean into even more is basically what I'd call like crypto rumors.
100%.
Like, is this company raising? Is this company going to do their token now? Like, I like the market. Is Infinex launching a token in? I think this year is the market, right?
Well, yeah. So the market is.
Like what's the likelihood that you guys launch a token in 2025? I think is the market.
Well, yeah, exactly. So like at the moment, it's literally a coin toss. Like if we can, we'll do it late December. I don't think we're going to get there. But there are some things that could push that forward. Like no one knows. Like genuinely, the world has no more information. Like it's really going to come down to like timeline. We want to do it as soon as is practicable, which means in the next 2 to 3 months, which means it's like right on the edge. It just happens to be randomly right on the edge of like that cutover between 2025 and 2026. So
I think there's such a fun feedback loop that's happening though with I don't know if you listened to the Coinbase earnings call today. I didn't listen, but a friend just texted me and said, "Hey, did you listen to the Coinbase call?" I said, "No." He said at the end, Brian said, "I'm looking at the polymarket odds about whether certain things will be said. So I'm just going to say Bitcoin and ETH a couple times so that those things hit yes." And I'm like, I love that.
So, I know, right? Well, the other one that was interesting was the Trump handshake market. Like how long will the handshake be? Which is just like giga autism, right? Like what? Like what?
No different though than in football. Will it be heads or tails, or will the national anthem be more than 2 minutes?
Yeah, exactly.
This episode is brought to you by Zcash, the decentralized digital cash that is encrypted to ensure agency and safety. With a fixed supply of 21 million and proof of work consensus, Zcash is encrypted Bitcoin. Buy, store, and spend encrypted Bitcoin using the Zcash-powered mobile wallet, Zashi. To find out more, visit their website or click the link in the show notes. Thanks to Zcash for making today's episode possible. Shout out to today's sponsor, Katana. Katana is a DeFi-first chain built for deep liquidity and high yield. No empty emissions, just real yield and sequencer fees routed back to DeFi users. Incubated by Polygon Labs and GSR, Katana is launching with notable ecosystem of primitives, assets, and partners like Morpho, Chainlink, and more. Katana's 1 billion CAT campaign is live. Bridge and deposit directly into vaults in one simple click and start earning immediately on your Ether, Bitcoin, USDC, and more. Follow the link in today's show notes to get started. As always, investments in blockchain technology involve risk, terms, and conditions apply. I'd love to hear just thinking back to when you launched Infinex, like what you got right, and also maybe more importantly, more fun, like what you got wrong.
Honestly, when I launched, like if you go back to like May 2023 or even earlier, maybe I think it was like March, April 2023, where I first had the idea. I had a dream. I woke up and I was like, I know, right? Yeah, not quite like Satoshi told me to buy Bitcoin level dream, but like I had a dream and I woke up and I was like, that dream was like really unsatisfying. It was this like sense of frustration and dissatisfaction with like where things had gotten to. Like we just hadn't, we hadn't been able to kind of nail what we were trying to nail with synthetics. And they had just at that point, only like 4 months before, launched the new exchange, right? Like Synthetics V3. And it wasn't great. And I was like really frustrated. I was like, we got so much wrong about that. They spent 9 months like rebuilding it, optimizing it, and it just didn't land. And I was like, there's something wrong here. And so I had this intuition of like, there's something wrong. My first like 10 guesses of what that thing was were like way off base. At the end of the day, the thing that was wrong, like I was like, we need to be more centralized. We need like decentralized infrastructure, centralized front ends, et cetera. I had all of these ideas. But at the end of the day, I think the thing that eventually, after like multiple iterations and trying things, which, you know, again, this is like over 2 years ago now, right? Which seems crazy that it was that long ago. But yeah, like I got to the point where probably early this year, we were like, okay, it's bringing everything into a single platform that's non-custodial, that just makes it easy to do stuff on chain again. Like doing things on chain had become harder and harder. And, you know, people got tired of like messing around with gas and bridges and all of that stuff. And so, yeah, I think we got to a point where we, you know, we really were confident in the thesis, like a thing that let you do everything on chain, on any chain, on any dApp, et cetera. But even up to the start of this year, even up to July of this year, I was pushing back so hard on no browser extension. I'm like, browser extensions are the past. We're not doing a browser extension. Like that's like 2018 nonsense. And then we did a browser extension because it's the only real solution to the problem today.
What's the end goal? Is it still to take down the centralized exchanges?
100%. And you know, like the world will take down centralized exchanges. It's in there.
Why are centralized exchanges such a big problem for people maybe who haven't thought about that problem?
So centralized exchanges are the thing that allowed us to climb out of the primordial ooze, right? You know, if you think about it in like you know, kind of evolutionary terms, right? Early crypto was like peer-to-peer, single-celled organisms just like floating around in like a hot lake somewhere or whatever, right? And then centralized exchanges emerge. And
I don't know why I just pictured Charlie Shrem there as
just like climbing out of the ooze, right? But all of a sudden, the world like, you know, reconfigures itself, and these centralized exchanges pop up, and they were the thing alongside dark markets, right? That drove that first wave of adoption. And why did they work so well? Because they were just much easier. Like local Bitcoins is awesome, super cool. It was never going to scale to billions or, you know, trillions of dollars, right? And so centralized exchanges came in, solved that problem, and they were so good at solving that problem that they dominated the world for like millions of years, right? But it's not a satisfying solution to the problem, given that the underlying thing that they're you know, letting you interact with is supposed to be decentralized. And so you're interacting with this decentralized infrastructure, permissionless finance, all of these things via some guy's like database in his basement, which is wild, right? But we just didn't have the technology to do it better. And now we do. But they are so powerful that we need something, and, you know, something needs to happen to kind of shift this and, you know, make it possible for decentralized platforms to win. And, you know, a lot of people think we're already there, but if you look at even, you know, Hyperliquid versus Binance, right? Like we're still not there yet. There's still a long way to go. There's still a lot of work to do. Hyperliquid has reinvigorated this, you know, decentralized platforms can win thesis, but the job's not done. Like there's a lot of work, right, that needs to happen. We need to get to a world where people can interact with crypto in a non-custodial fashion as easily as they can do it in a custodial fashion. Once we're there, then we're there. Then it's like, then now everything, and the thing that I think is driving this is this proliferation of assets and opportunities that are on chain today, that's gone, you know, 10, 100, 1,000x since 2020, since DeFi summer, right? Like we're really, the opportunities are really on chain now and everyone knows it. And all the centralized exchanges are responding to this. Binance, Coinbase, like everyone's trying to figure out what their response is to this shift. The world is going to be permissionless. There's no question of that. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah, I agree. I actually think Mike and I have been talking a lot about like the mega trend that Blockworks will be riding for the next decade. And I'm pretty convinced at this point that the last 10 years was assets moving on chain. The next 10 years will be basically full businesses and companies and revenue moving on chain. And that'll come from assets moving on chain too. But yeah, you see it in companies like, Coinbase. I mean, Coinbase is clearly internally like desperately, maybe desperate is the wrong word, but like scrambling to move to become an on-chain business instead of the centralized exchanges are basically just Web 2 businesses.
Yeah.
Private database businesses that operate in crypto. So, yeah.
But not just operate, that own and control crypto, right? Like we've been in this kind of prehistoric era, right? Where the way that you interact with crypto is via a centralized entity for 99.9% of people, right? It's only this cycle that cracks have really started forming. And that's why every centralized exchange is working out what their posture is to this new world. Like in 5 years' time, I'm very confident that we don't have centralized exchanges the way that we think of them today. They have evolved into some new form, which doesn't mean you won't have Coinbase or a Kraken or a Binance. I think that those businesses will exist. They will just be in a very different posture.
Yeah. Do you kick yourself at all for, you guys started kind of with a wallet? Do you kick yourself for not having just started with, you can't just say do Hyperliquid, but like, do you ever kick yourself for being like, oh crap, we could have just started with a great trading platform?
The funny thing was that like I left Synthetics, right, and let the engineers who were working and product people who were working on that platform, let them optimize in the way that they wanted to optimize. And unfortunately, this is one of the challenges, right? That they were optimizing to be too permissionless, with no compromises. And I think that what we've seen is, as much as that is triggering for the ideological wing of Ethereum, right, and even Bitcoin, arguably, that it's really hard to build something and one shot it. It's really hard to build something and just land the perfect thing and be like, here's my perfect permissionless thing. And it's even harder, I think, to look at Ethereum. Right? Ethereum has somehow threaded, this is why Ethereum is such an impressive thing to exist in the world, right? It's somehow threaded this needle of being like decentralized enough to not get captured over the course of the last decade, right? But also evolve and iterate. Like that is a wild achievement, maybe more important than like even the network itself. Very few things have been able to achieve that. And so, my shift, I think, in my thinking has been that if we acknowledge the fact that centralized entities dominate crypto, dominate our lives, right? If we're going to attack them, we need to have a path that is a credible path forward, right? So it's okay to have some centralization and iterate away from that over time and become more permissionless. Because if we have 10 different super apps that are all iterating, trying to solve this problem, right? We only need one to win to blow away all of centralized exchanges.
Right. I agree. Why don't you just merge Synthetics and Infinex and have Synthetics be the thing that, what you're doing with Synthetics right now is taking on Hyperliquid, right? But then it's like Hyperliquid is embedded into, it's like, I don't know, I'm trying to put myself in your shoes because Infinex is building perps on top of Hyperliquid, but Synthetics is competing with Hyperliquid. You're at an office right now where you have Synthetics employees and Infinex employees together. Why are you doing this with two separate companies? It seems like you're making like your life tougher, basically. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know about that, right? Like, I think that there is something that is very important about specialization, right? This is trying to build the best perp decks, on-chain perp decks, right? And it's not even really competing with Hyperliquid. It's competing with Binance. Hyperliquid's competing with Binance. Like
we're all competing with Binance. Yeah.
Yeah, like we've only captured a tiny fraction of Binance's market share, right? So, Hyperliquid, if you compare it against centralized exchanges, is like still, for OI on most markets, like not even in the top 20, right? So there's still a lot of work to do, and my view is we need multiple perp dexes to try and take down the centralized exchanges. The same way we need multiple super apps to try and take down centralized exchanges from like a custody and storage perspective. So it would be a huge distraction and waste of time and effort for the Infinex team to be so focused on one narrow vertical, which is building a perp dex. The job of building a super app is incredibly hard. We've demonstrated that over the last 2 years, right? But our job is not to build protocols. Our job is not to deploy contracts on chain. Our job is to integrate things and do it in the best way possible with no compromises. Synthetics is there to build the best DEX with no compromises. And if you put them together, they'd both be compromising and it would end up being a worse result.
Yeah. Why is so you published this piece TGE Death March a week or two ago. Why is now the right time for a token?
I think we are just about to get to the point where Infinex can actually take over your on-chain life. After a lot of work and effort, and we've had good features, but we haven't been able to credibly say, like throw away Phantom, throw away MetaMask, throw away Rabby, throw away your ledger. You can now bring all of your stuff into Infinex and do everything that you want to do more easily using Infinex than whatever you're using today. And until we felt comfortable to be able to say that, it didn't make sense to do TGE.
Was there one thing, Kain? Like, was it the support for 20 chains, or was it the browser extension, or was it the vault? Like,
it's browser extension plus wallet import. Those are the two things.
Browser extension plus wallet import. Wallet import is like wallet import and like seed phrase. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you can import your existing MetaMask wallet. You don't have to transfer or deposit or move stuff around. Go, I'm done. Like, and we saw this with MetaMask and Rabby. Rabby was able to like absolutely, chop a huge chunk of market share away from MetaMask with, in the nicest possible way, not that much better of an experience, right? Infinex is an order of magnitude better than the existing experience you have with Phantom or MetaMask. The fact that you have a platform that can manage all of your assets and can bridge and swap for you really easily, the fees are much lower, like everything about it is just much better. But if you had to convince people to deposit all of their assets or move all their assets from all their different wallets in MetaMask into Infinex, we tried that. It didn't work. It's too hard. It's too much effort. But just import your seed phrase, and and again, we saw this with Rabby. We saw this with Phantom to some extent, right? Like Phantom was able to pull a lot of assets out of the Ethereum ecosystem just by making it really easy to bring your wallet across.
Yeah. How do you think about the role of a token? Is it a cap? Is it a capital raise? Is it like an incentive mechanism to take the action that you want people to take? What is the role of the token?
So to go back to your point about on-chain businesses, right? Yeah. Infinex is an on-chain business. So the role of the token is a way to capture the value of revenue that's generated by the platform and distribute it. It's just a coordination layer for the financial engineering of the thing, right? So my strong view is that token buybacks with revenue are the optimal structure. And having tried it in different ways, we tried dividends with synthetics for a long time, and it kind of worked, but it creates a strong disincentive for passive holders who are not like actively doing things in the network to hold the token, which I think we know from TradFi, like most people are passive holders. They're not active holders. It's a small minority of people. So we need to be able to accommodate and incentivize passive holders holding a token and feeling like they're getting a benefit from the thing that they're supporting.
Yeah. The number one thing that you guys will incentivize for the token, in what I understand, is like phase one is importing the wallet. Is that right?
Yeah.
Got it.
So we've had a really interesting few weeks, right? With like Mega ETH and Monad and the airdrop and all of this stuff. And so we've been watching really closely how people have been reacting to these different schemes that Megaeth and Monad have cooked up, and it's been like just invaluable data.
Yeah, what have you learned?
I think the most important takeaway from me from Monad definitely is complexity without clarity creates a lot of frustration.
And you think Monad struggled with that?
I think they did a lot of very complicated and complex things, which could have been fun, but were instead frustrating for people.
Is that a message more about Monad as a whole, not just
Look, I mean, I'm a Monad investor. I'm a
same,
yeah, I'm a fan.
Yeah.
And again, like everyone who does something big in crypto, you're going to have some wins and some misses, right? It's fine. Like you got to put yourself out there. And I think the fact that they've gone hard on this has been attention is the most important resource in crypto, right? So from that perspective, it has been wild.
Even the 3-day campaign, I clicking my boxes.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
But, it's funny though, right? Because my kids have pudgy penguins, so they got Monad airdrop, right? So my son, the last 3 days, has woken up and he's like, "Can we open the boxes?" And I'm like, "What boxes are you talking about?" He's like the Monad boxes. So like it's working. Like he knows Monad now, right?
Yeah.
Like he's a fan. But then my daughter opened one of her boxes and got like 35 Monad, and she's like, "I'm gonna throw this computer out the window." And I was like, okay.
That is so symbolic.
She was raging. And so, again, I think going back to the point about like complexity without clarity, it's fine to make people jump through hoops and delay gratification and, spread out the attention or whatever. But when people had no idea what was going on, like, is day 2 the worst day? Is it the best day? Is there something else coming? I think it creates this very high likelihood of disappointment, because people inflate what may be coming, and then the reality is disappointing to them. And I think that one of the solutions to that is like being really clear about what the rules are and what will happen. And if you don't get what you want, at least you're not disappointed because you kind of had a sense of what was going to happen ahead of time. You can introduce a little bit of variability or RNG into it. But if it's RNG with like complete opacity, I think people get frustrated, because then they roll like if I say to you like, okay, here, I'm going to give you some dice and roll it, right? And you roll a 12 and you're like, yeah. And I'm like, actually 12's bad. Sorry, bro. You're out. And you're like, what the fuck? Why is 12 bad? Like I rolled double. I'm like, yeah, you're supposed to roll snake eyes. And you're like,
I didn't know that. I didn't know
that. I would have rolled snake eyes if you told me. It's like, no, you wouldn't. Yeah. It's RNG. Yeah. Like you just rolled 2 dice, but like you're just mad because you're like, why didn't you tell me? So
you want to be more you want, but it's tough though, because you want to be you want clarity, but you can't give too much clarity so that it gets gamed.
Yes, right? Exactly. Yeah. But here's the thing: you can't game a fucking dice roll. So why make it opaque? You know what I mean? Like if someone's gonna roll a 20-sided die, and if they hit a 20, they get $1,000, and if they hit anything else, they get nothing. Just fucking tell them. Like it doesn't need to be a mystery of like, oh, you got a 20, what does that mean? And then you come back tomorrow and we'll tell you. Like that, I think, is honestly to autists like super frustrating.
Yeah, I think so too. This episode is brought to you by Zcash, the decentralized digital cash that is encrypted to ensure agency and safety. With a fixed supply of 21 million and proof of work consensus, Zcash is encrypted Bitcoin. Buy, store, and spend encrypted Bitcoin using the Zcash-powered mobile wallet, Zashi. To find out more, visit their website or click the link in the show notes. Thanks to Zcash for making today's episode possible. Shout out to today's sponsor, Katana. Katana is a DeFi-first chain built for deep liquidity and high yield. No empty emissions, just real yield and sequencer fees routed back to DeFi users. Incubated by Polygon Labs and GSR, Katana is launching with notable ecosystem of primitives, assets, and partners like Morpho, Chainlink, and more. Katana's 1 billion cat campaign is live. Bridge and deposit directly into vaults in one simple click and start earning immediately on your Ether, Bitcoin, USDC, and more. Follow the link in today's show notes to get started. As always, investments in blockchain technology involve risk, terms, and conditions apply. I noted there's a line in your TGE Death March thing that said, hold on, where was it? We will incentivize users to switch to Infinex by importing existing wallets and connecting socials. Tell me why connecting socials is so important. And my theory here is building on chain kind of sucks because you don't know your users. You have no user data. And connecting socials is just the easiest way to get user data to know that is this person in the US or in Australia? Is that right?
I think it's part of it. At the end of the day, I said this earlier, like attention is the most important resource in crypto, right? So some people have attention, some people have the potential to drive fees or revenue, right? Some people have both, but oftentimes they don't, right? Like sometimes, there's anon whales that do a ton of volume on Hyperliquid and have no audience. They don't have a Twitter presence or a Telegram or whatever. They might be in like private groups, but they're not going to drive any attention to the project, right? And so knowing what the attentional value of a social account is really important. Now, this can be gamed, right? So when we did our first campaign of connecting Twitter to Infinex, one bot farm connected 10,000 Twitter accounts in the space of an hour.
God. Who's running these bot farms?
I don't know, dude. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's like anything, there's levels, right?
Yeah.
So like this is an unsophisticated brute force, like 10,000 Twitter accounts, right? Then there was another one that was like 3,000 that was much better orchestrated, right? Like
do you still have your like crack data guy helping you figure this out?
Oh yeah. He just like absolutely eviscerates these guys. And then, as you go up the levels, the Sybil farms get better and better. Like their methods get more sophisticated and they get harder to track, et cetera. But most people are just like super low effort.
Yeah. Okay, so that's phase one. You incentivize, so people connect their wallet. What is phase? How do you think about like the second phase?
So this is very much like work in progress, right? Like a thing that we're iterating on. And for what it's worth, I'm still waiting to see like the final result. The Monad golden ticket thing, like mainnet day or whatever. Like we're gonna hold off and try and gather as much data as possible and see
what is that? Do you know? No one
knows. No one knows. It's crazy.
That's why it's provocative. Yeah.
I know, right?
But that's fine. And that actually, honestly, I don't hate it. It makes you stick around. It makes you log in on mainnet day and be like, what did I get?
What did I get? But here's the problem. Here's the problem, right? You give 10,000 people a golden ticket, right? Now
everyone gets a golden.
You've created a massive expectation up here, right? That you inevitably will not be able to deliver. Like, how much is a golden ticket worth to you? Like for me, a golden ticket should be $1 million. If you don't give me $1 million, then I'm fighting the shit out of it.
I think you Ponzi scheme it and you keep it going as long as possible so that it's like
you got a diamond ticket. Your golden ticket turned into a diamond ticket.
If you make a trade next week on this DEX, you double down, and then if you
you turn into like Eigen or one of those like campaigns where it's just never ending. You're grinding into oblivion, and again, the bigger it gets, the more people you attract, the more disappointment you're going to create, right? So one of the things that I think has been very interesting this cycle is the evolution of the airdrop meta, right? So I'm sure you guys know this because you have data people. We definitely know it. I think most projects who've done an airdrop know this, right? 98 to 100% of people dump airdrops. Like almost no one doesn't dump their airdrop, right?
98%.
Dude, it's crazy.
I didn't actually know that high. I didn't know.
Like when you look at some, like I saw some data a couple weeks ago where someone had like over time, like as you get, maybe on the first day it's 80%. By the time you get to day 30, it's like 95%, and then eventually everyone sells, right? Which it makes sense. Like no one's gonna marry an airdrop bag for the rest of their life, right? Eventually they're gonna sell it. So almost everyone sells. So if almost everyone sells, and the original intent behind an airdrop was, go back to the ICO meta, right? Haven did an airdrop. The reason why we did an airdrop was to drive attention. We wanted people talking about the project. People thought there was going to be a big airdrop, which there was. They came and talked about it. It drove attention, created a flywheel, et cetera. That's how you break through the noise floor. Then it kind of evolved to people thought you were buying loyalty. Like, I want to buy Yano's love.
Who's loyalty?
What, like crypto Twitter, like crypto users, right? I'm going to give you 10 grand and you're going to like the project, right? But if you dump it straight away, like, you might kind of be like,
by giving an airdrop, you're buying loyalty. I understand. Yes. Yeah.
That was like, I think a lot of founders genuinely believed that was what they were doing, right? Optimism definitely did. And, I was close to that one, right? Like, there was a view of like, we're rewarding the community. This is a reciprocal thing.
Well, that came out of Uniswap, which is people, I mean, there were hundreds, maybe even thousands of, probably hundreds of, like, you would see these Twitter posts every day where it's like, that changed my life.
Yeah.
I am forever indebted to Hayden. Yep. And I think other founders were like, I want
that
about me. Yeah.
The problem is, you can only do that so many times, right? You can't be indebted to 10 founders, right? Yeah. So, Hayden kind of captured that wave, and that's kind of it, right? So, okay, if everyone's going to dump your token, no one's going to hold it, everyone's going to forget about you because they're just chasing the next one, then what is the point of this exercise, right? And so I had this tweet thread a couple of weeks ago where I said, I think the evolution is, the point of this is, it's blood money. It's protection money. You're basically I'm paying you to not FUD me.
But what if I sell the token?
You're still probably not going to FUD me. You're just not going to care.
Because you pay. Yeah. Oh, I see. Yeah.
You're like, I don't need you to shill the project. I just need you to not FUD it, right? And the expectation, and this is, human expectations evolving over time, right? The expectation is, if Monad gives you no dollars, you, Yano, an important guy, then fuck those guys, fuck Keone, fuck Intern, and I'm going to FUD them. And maybe you don't do it on the timeline. Maybe you do it quietly in like a back room, but like, you're going to be like, how dare you not pay me the money that I'm due?
Monad's actually a really interesting case study, because that round, everyone did the round.
300 or 700 mil, something like that.
I think mine was 600, but
okay.
I forget. I honestly don't.
Whatever it was, I didn't do it. Yeah, I did the earlier round.
Everybody did it, and they were only taking small checks. It was like 10 or 20K. And I've been thinking about that round because we've been thinking about like what, fundraising and what that could look like, and what's the strategy, and do you go to two venture funds, or do you get 1,000 angels on board? And Monad just got everyone not to love them, because if you know that you're one of 1,000, you don't care, but you have like soft affinity for them.
Yes.
Like, I have strong affinity for teams where I've pre-seed. I know I'm one of like 4 angels, like ride or die for that founder.
We did a similar thing with our patron sale. We got like 500 of like, Monad got like 100 or 200 or something. We got like 500. We got almost everyone. We got Stanny, Robert, Toli, Raj, like almost everyone. We went and rounded them all up and made them buy patrons. Vitalik bought patrons. Like, it was pretty crazy.
You convinced me in a taxi cab and
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so everyone, we got everyone to buy a patron NFT, right?
Yeah.
Which
you guys did very good social proofing too. You had like, it was like right after I bought it, like my face went up on the website. I was like, oh, I see what's happening here.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And so now, right, we probably don't need to airdrop to you because you're 4x up on that trade, right? You bought a couple of patrons, you're like 8x up. It feels good. And the thing is, you can give someone free money, or you can let them buy something at a cheap price. And so this is the counterpoint we're seeing with Mega ETH right now. Mega ETH is like, we're not going to airdrop shit to you guys because you're just going to dump on us, but we will let you buy tokens cheaply. Right. And so, that is a very different approach to the same problem. Right. But the end result, as you say, same thing with Monad. It's like, Keone is a good guy. I'm not going to FUD him, even if he makes a mistake. Right. Someone else makes a mistake that didn't give you any money, and you're like, burn the guy, like burn him down. I don't care. and especially if someone fades you, right? Especially if someone gives money to other people and not you. Someone does a big airdrop and you get nothing, then you're like, all right, now it's on. Like, and so this is where airdrops, I feel like, have kind of evolved, where there is a sense of entitlement in like the crypto Twitter inner circle, right? That like, give me money or I'll burn your store down. I don't know. Like anything could happen.
Yeah. You know,
Like,
I've been following Monad and Mega ETH, and I actually kind of like the I like both of them. I like Monad a lot, you know, but can't say bad things about
the system
Monad.
works. The system works. I
But
love boxes. I love that I got a box
I
with
do
35
like
on
I
it.
do like that Mega ETH is not just giving people money. I think there's you know, we saw this with our conferences. Like we've played with every conference ticketing strategy in the game. And at one point we were like, well, sponsors are where the money is. Let's just get thousands of people to fill a room. Let's give them the tickets for free. When you give people tickets for free, the no-show rate on an event is 65%.
Yeah.
If you make people just pay $10, the no-show rate falls to 15%.
Yeah.
So and $10 is no matter.
It's literally the difference between zero, right? It's like choice paralysis, right? Like the difference between $0 and $1 is a lot. Is like it's a not a quantity.
We could have charged $1 for the ticket. It's just the taking out the credit cards. I actually really like what Mega ETH is doing.
And so, you know, again, giving like the problem with giving out a bunch of money in an airdrop is it's hyper inefficient, right? So it's not so much that we don't want anyone to dump the token, right? That I think is like everyone's going to dump the token. So if you're going to do an airdrop, everyone's going to dump it, right? So you can't prevent people dumping on you. What you don't want to do is leak a bunch of value to Sybils and bot farmers and terrorists and all of these people that are just going to dump the token that have no value. Like it's just a very high cost that you will never recoup, right? If you could go around, you know, and this is where like it's kind of frustrating, right? That Elon unwound some of the crypto integrations that happened on X, right? Like imagine if you could go around and just airdrop directly to all of these Twitter accounts. You just go and make a list of every Twitter account, how much attention they have. You give Kobe $1 million so he doesn't FUD you. Then you go through and like Tolly and Vitalik.
Do you think Kobe is the most valuable person on crypto Twitter?
100%.
Do you think who's the second and third?
I think you know there's different types of value, right?
But there's different types of value for everybody, but then there's Kobe in a class of his own. So maybe a different question is like what
sorry. So like I would say Vitalik is the second most, right?
Yeah.
And used in the right way, Vitalik is more valuable than Kobe.
Which is what Mega ETH.
It's optimism, Mega ETH, like you know, Vitalik is a scarce resource in a way that Kobe is not as much, right? Like Kobe's on the timeline, interacting with people, ratioing
it's more the Vitalik blessing. Vitalik blessed this project.
If you get anointed by Vitalik, right? Like that's a different thing, right? And you know, it's interesting, right? Because you look at like Tolly and Raj, for example, they do a ton of seed investments, similar to like Vitalik did like a ton of seed investments in the early days, right? But Tolly and Raj do a ton of seed investments in the Solana ecosystem. So it becomes not as much of a scarce resource, right? But if Tolly writes something about your project, like takes the time to like write a couple of tweets about it, that's ultra valuable in the Solana ecosystem. So, you know, different people for different things. But yeah, this cycle, Kobe is in a different league.
Why do you think that is?
I think there's a lot of reasons, right? Up only from last cycle was like the thing that everyone would be talking about almost every week, right?
But it was the thing because Kobe was already Kobe.
I think it was a bit of both. A bit of both, right? Like Kobe was already Kobe for sure. And, you know, but up only, I think, cemented, especially for people in that cycle, right? You know, the hardest thing in crypto, like most people
those are still legendary episodes with Suzu and
like, but most people are washed after one cycle. Like most people you hear about them, you know, people like 2017 cyclers, like 2021 people have never even heard of them, let alone someone from 2025, right?
Yeah.
There's a bunch of people that you could be
I
like,
asked
oh,
a group of our new people if they knew you, and people were not aware, unfortunately. And I was
yeah,
like, wow, that's nuts to me.
no, 100%. Like DeFi summer, like I know it was a thing, right? And
Yeah.
the reason why people wash out is like if you're not grinding, and I wasn't, I took a year off. And that year that I took off, like late 21 into 22, like that's like you can't get that back, right?
Yeah.
So Kobe's consistency. Same thing with Stanny. Stanny's been
But
consistent.
Kobe took a solid year and a half off too.
He did. He did. I
You
think
know, I
he.
my take on Kobe
Yeah.
it's because of how much money he's turned down, and it's in an industry like so awash with under the table deals and money and stuff like that. I think Kobe, remember when Kobe sent someone like 10 million bucks, or he like
Yeah.
burned 5 million, and
Yeah.
there's I don't know, I got in a Twitter spat with him over our Movement Labs piece,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh my god, never again. He's
Oh,
the
he
man of,
cooked you guys. He cooked
he's
you guys so
he
hard.
but you can't win.
You can't win.
It's
No. You can't
it's
win.
arguing. He's a man of the people. It's arguing with Trump. Like it, you can't use any logic. Yeah, I don't know. It was very interesting learning that I will not do again.
Yeah, no, do not take Kobe on a timeline, right?
Yeah,
And I think the thing about Kobe, not to glaze him too hard, right? But like, he is incredibly funny. Like he's
yeah.
a
That's the
funny
other
guy,
thing.
right? And so he's funnier than you. So you're not going to win on that dimension either, right? And like in Twitter,
Yeah.
like if you're in a Twitter feud and someone cooks you with a one-liner, like doesn't matter. Like it's over.
I was
Like
trying to use all this logic, and then he
delete
just
your account.
a witty
Literally.
response. And I was like, shut it down for the day. Just shut it
Yeah,
down.
yeah. Just shut Twitter down and move on with your life.
Just shut it down. Maybe on that. Oh yeah, go ahead. Kid.
No, that's it. Like just like.
This episode is brought to you by GEODNET, the world's largest decentralized RTK network delivering real-time, centimeter-accurate positioning around the globe. Powering technologies that enable precise navigation for drones, autonomous vehicles, first responders, farmers, and robotics, GEODNET shows that blockchain can be a truly transformative force. By delivering real-time, centimeter-level accuracy, GEODNET enhances emergency response, boosts construction precision, and enables advanced navigation for drones and surveyors far beyond the limits of standard GPS. To find out more, click the link in the show notes or follow them on X. As always, investments in blockchain technology involve risk, terms, and conditions apply. Maybe on a more personal note, just like longevity in crypto. I mean, how do you think about, I know you've had I don't know if you're comfortable talking about some of your own health stuff and like that journey there, but I think this cycle I've seen more burnout than even like last cycle. There was burnout, but it was from working 20 hours a day.
Yeah.
But we had so much dopamine, like it was like dopamine being injected every day. This cycle is like, it's a very, very, very different feeling. And so I'm actually seeing a lot more people burn out this cycle.
I think honestly, it's who you know and who you pay attention to. You're seeing people from 2017 crash out now on their third cycle, which is typically when it happens, right?
That's right.
And so it's who's in your circle of influence. All right. Like
and your circle crashed out last cycle, you're saying?
Yeah, a lot of those people crashed out last cycle, right? Like, people that I was paying attention to in like 2015, 16, 17 or whatever. And like I remember some people crashing out in like 2017, 2018, like big Bitcoin guys. But then you go back to like 2021 and so many Bitcoiners crashed out, dude. So many.
Yeah, they did. Yeah,
but if you weren't paying attention to them in 2016, 2017, if they weren't the accounts you were following, then you could be totally forgiven.
Last cycle sucked to be a Bitcoiner. It was the worst cycle ever to be a Bitcoiner. So
and they just crashed out hard, right? Like, so I mean, it's like for so many reasons. Anyway, so I think like it depends, but doing 3 cycles in a row is insanity. And I look back on 2021, 2022, and I had a tweet thread about this, like. When I started Synthetics in 2017, I had already been running another startup for 3 years straight, like grinding hard, right? So it wasn't like I just came out of like a consulting job and was like, oh, I'm going to get into crypto, and was like on the bench ready to go, fully powered up, right? Like I was already cooked by the time I started Synthetics, but I felt compelled to kind of jump in fully into crypto. But I had done like 4 different startups before that. So, I like my kind of power meter, at 35 after doing 10 years of startups was like not super high. And so post DeFi summer, yeah, like I washed out hard. I was like, I don't want to work anymore. I've been working forever. Like, what's the point? Like, like I've worked so hard. I've gotten to this point. Like, the thing's working. Like, let some other people grind for a while. And I took time off, which was not good for me mentally. It turns out that I kind of need to grind. And I lost my mind. But that late 21 into 22, losing that period of time and not paying attention to the space, not building, not paying attention to the meta, et cetera, set me back massively. And so I've been having to like work so much harder.
Really?
Oh,
You
yeah.
don't think it was helpful to get a mental break and clarity and read the book on the hammock? I guess I know that's not what you did, but
it's not what I did. No, I went on a drug binge for a year, right? And so,
Yeah.
which is not great for you. But like, I think
Kane, was that correlated with having more money than you ever thought that you would have? Was
no,
money? No.
like it was correlated with having more more flexibility, more opportunity to be chaotic, right? Previously, I was always like this simmering boil of like drug addiction, right? But it was kind of tamped down by like a balance of like, well, I've got to work, I'm grinding, I know what I'm trying to get to, right? I'm trying to build something, that's really valuable, and I'm going to keep grinding until I get there. And it was like a little bit of a like relief valve, right? Like drug addiction was just like get a little bit of let some of the steam out of the cooker, right? And then I got to 2021 and I was like, well, I don't have to do anything anymore, I can do whatever I want. And that mantra of I can do whatever I want because I could was the thing that almost killed me. Because just because you can do whatever you want doesn't mean that what you want to do is good.
Do you say that literally about almost killed me?
Yeah. Like when I went to rehab, the like first week that I was there, one of the guys, one of the therapists there was like, the trajectory you were on, 2 years, you're dead. And I was like, you don't know me. I'll be totally fine. I was like, I've been doing drugs for 30 years, bro. You like get the fuck out of my face. It was like literally like I was like so pissed, right? Which is always an interesting,
Did you? I don't. If this is too personal, by the way, we can skip
whatever. No, it's fine.
Did you do rehab and then relapse and then back to rehab? Did you relapse?
No, I actually managed to go to rehab once and learn my lesson or something, right? And so, but it was funny, right? Like I was in rehab for 6 weeks, and I later spoke to the guy who's the founder of that place, and he was like, after you left, there was you and another guy that forced us to realize that 6 weeks is not enough, and we now have a 12-week program. He's like, I'm actually surprised that you survived out in the world after you left.
You are back, yeah.
No, dude, like literally, like, because like 5 weeks in, right? I was like, okay, all right, maybe I can't drink and do drugs anymore. After 5 weeks, I was like, maybe, right? Like maybe. And then I was like, no, I'm definitely going to drink again. Which was insane, right? Because like the drinking would lead to doing drugs, and then it was the whole spiral, totally. Right? Yeah, and so the idea that like I could go out and like have a few drinks was like insane. And so yeah, so
I'm actually surprised that you came to that conclusion in 5 weeks. That to me feels, very, very
it was
fast.
Intense. It was so intense, like honestly, and like but the first 4 weeks, I was like, as soon as I get out of here, I'm gonna do some ketamine and drink a bottle of champagne. It's gonna be amazing. Like I was like not convinced at all that there was anything wrong with anything that I had been doing. I was like, I just need a little break just to like tone it down, and then we'll be back on the streets again. Like it was crazy, right? So yeah, so and the crazy thing is, literally like 2 years to the day, one of my closest friends who was an addict with me, one of my like, big addict friends died like 2 years later.
Mm.
And so, I was like, holy shit, like that guy was right. Even though there's still a part, like a brain damaged part of me that's like, that guy, like he doesn't know me. I could have kept doing drugs. I would have been fine. I would have been dead. Like there's no question. There were multiple times where like, it's crazy that I woke up, like crazy. So yeah.
Do you believe in the idea that everybody needs a vice?
No, I don't think so. That sounds like coke to me.
Yeah. What do you do now to channel energy to let the cooker off or whatever you said?
Well, I'm back to like grinding again. Like 18 hours a day. But the difference is, and this is a big difference, right? My kind of way of handling any stress or whatever, I didn't feel stress. I just like tamp it down, right? Then go and drink or do some drugs or whatever to like just try and dissipate it. But it didn't work, but I thought it did. But I was completely disconnected from like any sense of like my own feelings or whatever. I was just like an automaton, like just going through life doing stuff. And this time building a startup, there's a bunch of people around me and like, I'm just much more aware of the people around me, how they're reacting to things, much more aware of my own biases creeping in. It's been much, much easier to do a startup not being a drug addict, which shouldn't be controversial, but like, it's kind of wild I was able to pull it off the first time. But yeah, it's definitely been easier, I would say, to not be like, dude, not being hungover. I'm never hungover. I never wake up. I used to wake up. You cannot even imagine the level of hangover that I was able to sustain. Like, dude, I remember one time I was in New York for SmartCon, for the Chainlink thing. And I'd been partying for 2 days straight. And I rolled out of bed on 2 hours sleep and got on stage. The video is out there somewhere. Like if you can find that video, it was like from 2021 SmartCon or something like that. Like how I was saying anything that was even close to coherent, I have no idea. Like I have no idea. And I'm sure if you go back and watch it now, you'd be like, that guy's
probably did some more drugs or something. I don't know.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Is it easier to, as someone who's I don't know, you're on your 6th startup or 7th startup, does it get easier basically?
Every startup's different. And you make different mistakes. I've made different mistakes this time than I did in the past. One of the biggest mistakes that I made this time was, I'm not resource constrained. Right. I could, kind of swing for the fences. It's a little bit like having leverage trading, right? Yeah. If you're forced to spot trade because, you're just trying to build up a bag and, you've got conviction and it's a slow kind of process, you accumulate some BTC or whatever, it's much less volatile. But if you are trading on leverage, or you're swinging for the fences, it's much more volatile. It's easy to kind of go down the wrong path. It's easy to make a bad trade, get on tilt. So that's definitely been the hardest part, I would say, of building Infinex is like I had to learn to enforce kind of discipline and resource constraints on myself because I don't have them in the real world.
Right. You're not self-funding anymore, right? You put in like what 25 million of your own money, but you're not self.
I'm not self-funding. No, we did the NFT sale.
You did
but the first 18 months, I put about 20 mil in my own money. Maybe so I was like, my money. I can do whatever I want. Like, but that's tough. Like again, anytime if I'm within 100 feet of you and you hear me say I can do whatever I want, run. It's gonna get fucking ugly.
Or just like chain you down.
Tackle me. Even better. Tackle me.
Maybe we can wrap by talking about this cycle because it's been a funky one, and you've seen many of them. So Bernisky tweeted the other day, said private market valuations like this, like these, have always come near the top for crypto, and you said near being the critical word here. Maybe just expand on like where you think we're at.
Again, I think towards the end of any cycle, and this cycle has been going for 2 years now, right? Started in the trenches in Solana in 2023, the first green shoots, right? In the same way that like early DeFi, a few things started to kind of, come out of winter in early 2019. I think it started in 2023. So it's been 2 years. So if you've been in the trenches that entire time, like, well played, because that's hard, right? So people are getting to the point in the cycle where they're exhausted, right? And the vicious irony, if you haven't been through a full cycle before, if you've only come in at the peak of 2021, dealt with a bear market, and now you've been going through a bull market for 2 years, you think that a bear market sounds good. Like you think like, oh man, like this has been so exhausting. And then 2 weeks into it, you're like, actually, this is terrible. I hate it. But I think we're at that point in the cycle where people are starting to be like, just let me get off the merry-go-round for like a minute. The problem is when you do, then you're in a bear market for 2 years and everything's harder and it's just pain.
But do you think it'll be as hard? Do you think that they get because 2022 was and 2023 sucked, but it was far less hard than 2018 and 2019.
Agreed. It just depends. I mean, depends on which cycle it is for you. If if 2021 was your first cycle, you full ported in August 2021, bro. 22 was a bad year for you. Like,
and it was a bad year. And it was a bad year. Yeah.
So depends on the baseline.
That's fair. That's fair. What should people who are listening, who are excited about Infinex but don't really know what to do as the next step? What should people do? Should they import their wallet? Should they switch? You guys have swap plus bridge switch. Should they switch some money over? Like what should people do?
So all of this stuff is going to be released in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So you can kind of front run it a little bit by setting up your Infinex account. But when we get ready to do this big bang launch where you can import your existing MetaMask wallet or Phantom wallet or Rabby or whatever, and you can start actually bringing your activity over to Infinex and start doing the things that you are currently doing somewhere else on Infinex, that's when we're going to put full force of everything behind it. So if you're watching this and you want to front run it, then get an Infinex account and get acquainted with the platform, but you won't be able to do all of this cool, fun stuff that we're talking about, the browser extension, et cetera, until probably, mid-November, another couple weeks.
Yeah. I would actually, if there's people listening to this who are building things in crypto, I would recommend just setting up your Infinex. It was when you and Igor showed it to me in Singapore a year ago, maybe not at this token, but the one before. My reaction, I remember I was with Oscar. We were like, oh, I didn't know you could do this with an on-chain app. Even the fingerprint thing on my MacBook, I was like, oh, I didn't know this was possible. So I would recommend people just use it just to almost see what the future starts to look like.
Yeah. Agreed.
Kain, thanks, man. Always good seeing you.
Awesome. Yeah, great to chat. Talk soon.